In this week's episode, we're going to take a look at what's new and cool in Entra ID, so you'd best buckle up. You're going to learn something. Hi everyone, Andy here. So nice to see you. I really do appreciate you stopping by. And on today's episode, we're going to look at Entra ID, aka Azure Active Directory, which of course will include conditional access. And Microsoft have been very busy in this area, and I want to take a look at some of those cool and new features and also what they mean for you. So if you have a P1 or P2 license in your subscription, then this is going to really benefit you guys. Likewise, if you're planning to do certification exams, I hope that this will also be quite a useful resource for you. Now, just before we start, I've just realized that it's actually been over 3 years since I started my channel. Now, to be fair, I started YouTube back in 2008, but like most people, I didn't really do anything with it, and I regret that now, let me tell you. But 3 years ago, during the pandemic, I thought, I really want to create a great learning resource for everyone. So to that end, I've now got over 300 videos. And I've got such a fantastic community of people, and I really do appreciate all of you. Now, if you haven't subscribed and you'd like to, bump that subscribe button, ring that bell, and come and join the community. And if you have questions and comments about this or any of my sessions, as always, just get those down below there. Now, just to mention as well that we are running an event on the 7th of May. And it's called Tech Days. And Tech Days is a full day. It's going to be streamed over Zoom, and it's going to be fully interactive. Now, if you'd like to participate, details are below here. And I would love it if you would sign up. It's a very, very low cost event, and it's a full day of training. And there's some really cool topics that I think you'll enjoy. So definitely come and join us for that. So I think without any further ado for today, I think it's about time we jump in and take a look at what's new and cool in Entra ID and conditional access. Check it out. So firstly, I want to talk just about a few pieces of news that you'll definitely want to take a look at. I'm in the Entra admin portal, and I'm just going to come into identity, and I'm going to come into the overview here. First up, you'll notice here that I'm currently using an Entra ID P2. Now, if you're like me and you do a lot of research, a lot of planning, studying, and you're trying to learn many of these features, unfortunately, Microsoft have just made an unfortunate change here. If you want to get a P1 or P2 license in future, you need to use a credit card to sign up. So very similar to the experience in Microsoft Azure. So if you're trying Microsoft Azure, you need to sign up and use a credit card. Now, the good news is you're not billed, but you do get the 30 days evaluation period. And then, of course, if you want to turn it into a pay-as-you-go or create a subscription, you can do that. But the bad news is that if you want to try it, and also this is going to affect students who are attending Microsoft courses as well, it means that you're not going to be able to, for example, build the labs with a P2 license. So unfortunately, that's something I don't agree with, but there we go. That's the first piece of bad news. So next I'm back in Entra. I've just come into the authentication methods, and just a quick word or two about some of these different authentication methods. Now, it's not just a case of having multi-factor authentication these days, which of course can reduce phishing attacks by 99%, and absolutely, if you're not using that, you must switch this on. It's absolutely critical. But also what we have here is what we call phishing resistant technologies. So for example, the Authenticator app with biometrics, facial recognition, Windows Hello, And we've also got FIDO2 key support. Now, FIDO2 keys at the moment, these are hardware-based keys, and they generate a private-public key pair, of which the private key never leaves the physical device. As I've mentioned in the past, Microsoft are also deploying passkeys. So it's not any kind of mystery to note that Microsoft will probably change the name of this to passkeys. And when they do, I'm guessing that it's going to include not just the hardware-bound keys, but also the keys that you can deploy on your mobile devices. So your Apple device, your Android device, Windows, Linux, Mac devices, for example, that we're starting to see from the other vendors. Both Apple, Google, and so on are all now using passkeys. And of course, Microsoft have just rolled out passkey support in their Windows 11 machines as well. So if you've not had a look at that, definitely go ahead and check this out. Now, if you've not been into conditional access recently, you're actually missing out. There's been a whole bunch of new changes, and there is going to be lots more changes which are currently inbound. So first up, the new portal has had a recent refresh. So now we have a getting started, and we have a number of custom policies that you can use. You can either create a conditional access policy through a template, or you can accept Microsoft's recommendations. They also have the overview tab, and this will give you an opportunity to take a look at if there are any users who have not signed in the last few days, what policies they're applying to them. Likewise, what's the coverage of all of your devices and your applications at a glance. That's really useful. Likewise, the coverage tab here again shows me, I've not created any policies at the moment, but you'll see once those policies have gone live, how many users are without coverage, or what applications don't have the right amount of coverage, what devices are not covered properly, and so on. We also have the new monitoring tab here. And the monitoring tab, we now have even more policies that you might want to monitor. So for example, you can filter all kinds of things here, from the device state, whether the device is joined or hybrid joined or Entra ID joined, and so on. And you can do lots of if and or policies here, and you can export these reports as well. So let's take a look at some of these new features. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a new policy. Call this my IT management policy. Okay. So first of all, I'm going to select some users, and we're going to bring some users in and users in groups. And I'm going to bring in the IT group. So let's just see what we've got. And we can see that we've got the London IT group here. So I'm going to bring these guys in. And in here, it says, okay, which resources do you want to target them? So I'm going to choose a specific app at the moment. And I'm going to select, just wait for this to come in a moment. I'm going to select the Microsoft, either the admin portals. So if I was a hacker and I would try to get access to a replay token, one of the typical attacks is you might try and replay that token in order to get access. But in this example, I'm choosing the admin portals. I'm clicking on select, and now that I've done that, obviously I could go in and I could do the various conditions there if I want to. But specifically what I want to do is I just want to come down here, and again you could say, yep, I want to obviously require multi-factor authentication. Let's just click onto that, and then ultimately I want to control the session. And the session control, this is the key thing here. So require token protection for sign-in sessions, and this is currently in preview. So I'm just going to simply click onto that and click on select. And that now prevents this type of attack. But you can see that you can also do this with the Microsoft 365 support tools for your users as well. So again, absolutely brilliant. Require the token protection for sign-in sessions, and that is a policy you should definitely switch on, my friends. We have another new feature down at the bottom here, and this is called an authentication flow. And essentially, you can configure this in one of two or both ways, actually. We have something called device code flow. And device code flow is really quite a risky thing. If you have, let's say, digital signage within your organization, or let's say Android devices that have shared environments. So the idea is that if you manage to get in on one, you potentially could get in on them all. And this is a well-known technique that hackers use to infiltrate organizations. So by blocking that device code flow, you can really improve your security. So that's the first thing. That's what we call device code flow. Another feature is called authentication transfer. And the authentication transfer is particularly useful. Perhaps you've seen it where you've received a QR code on one device, and by using the QR code, you can then sign in on a second device. And so essentially, your authentication is transferred from one device or your primary device to your secondary device. Now, Apple have been using this for quite some time, so it's really nice to see this now in Microsoft, and particularly useful, certainly the likes of Intune. If you've got multiple devices on different platforms, I think this is really going to be useful. So, ladies and gentlemen, there we go, authentication flows. So just before I go to my next feature, I want to mention insider risk management in Microsoft Purview. Microsoft Purview, of course, is all about compliance. So in here, I can come in to insider risk management. And really, when we talk about this concept of zero trust is not accusing anyone of anything, but essentially is protecting you from potential malicious users or accidental. So for example, data theft by departing users, and this can include data leaks. We've also got things like security policy violations, and you can monitor obviously physical devices, the users. It typically can connect to your HR system and so on. So by going through this wizard, you can create a really nice insider risk policy. And what makes this really nice is it's now been integrated into Microsoft 365. So you can see here, I'm in conditional access. I'm coming into the 365 app control, and I'm selecting my sales team as my group of users. And I'm now going to select my target resources. And in this case, I'm selecting a Windows 365 environment. So now we come to the conditions. And of course, you can use the user sign-in and the sign-in risk. Of course, both of these require a P2 license, as this is identity protection. But what we also now have is a new feature, and this is insider risk preview. So you can come in here. So if the user is performing a particularly risky action, you want to know about it. So again, I can control how users are assigned specific risk levels. So I can assign this, and I can say, okay, select the levels that they must be assigned to enforce this policy. Now, what makes this just a little bit annoying is that they've gone ahead and they've actually changed the language here. Now, that makes me wonder whether they're going to change the language in user risk. So if I come back to the user risk one here, you can see it says high, medium, and low, whereas in insider risk management, it says elevated, moderate, and minor. You see what I mean? I'm wondering if they're going to change the language. But remember, this is currently in preview. So I'm going to choose elevated here. So in other words, Basically, I'm saying selecting the risk level that the user must be assigned in order to enforce this policy. So this could be an extra layer of security here. So again, that is the insider risk preview. And if you've not had a look at insider risk management, definitely go ahead and check it out. So there you have it. What's new and cool in Entra ID, aka Azure Active Directory and conditional access. Isn't that cool? Hey, listen, I really hope you enjoyed today's session. If you did, give me a big thumbs up. It does help the channel. And of course, if you've not subscribed, bump that subscribe button, come on board and come and join our great learning community. That's it for today. I will see you next time. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care. Hey, thanks so much for dropping by today. Here's a couple of videos that you may enjoy. And while you're here, go ahead, click on the subscribe button and you won't miss out.